Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 36 291 The Seventh Sea, Assassination. 36th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The lowest level, the Asura layer, remained largely unexplored, teeming with fierce insects, departed spirits, and countless unknown dangers. The withered flourish Karong Hall and the Divine Prison were both built within the Asura layer. The Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall, the foremost of the four halls, was located at the northernmost edge of the Mortal Realm layer's 28 prefectures. Built into the mountainside, its structures cascaded layer upon layer, covering the entire mountain. From afar, the tiered buildings and intricate formations obscured the entire view, creating a grand and imposing spectacle. Most of the architecture here was left over from the ancient Bhagavata sect, with distinct Buddhist influences. The well leading to the Sacred Heart layer was located at the mountain's peak. Fourth Divine Son Wangshu arrived at the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall and knelt before a stone statue with a serpent's head, a dragon's claws, phoenix wings, a dog's tail, and a human body. Reporting to Master, my younger brother's remnant soul has sensed his aura. The sword he wields must be the Divine Snow Sword. According to my investigations, Li Wei entered the underground immortal mansion with Tang Wanzhou. I personally interrogated the prisoners who accompanied Tang Wanzhou in the divine prison. Li Wei was indeed taken away by Venerable Nan. It is now almost certain that the person who escaped into the southern purity Nanqing Palace is Li Wei, the divine hidden one of the Zhu Li hidden sect. Your disciple is utterly baffled. Li Wei has consistently opposed the divine cult. At the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, he killed over 20 heavenly prides of the Five Seas realm from our cult. Wang Shoxin, Wang Ji, and Zuo Shi, all at the Dao Seed realm, also fell by his hand. The cult's intelligence network in Chu Prefecture City has suffered devastating losses. Yet this man, instead of being imprisoned in the divine prison, is allowed to freely enter and exit the southern purity Nanqing Hall. How disheartening this must be for the cult disciples who have died. The world claims he's been crippled. But whether that's true can only be confirmed through investigation. The stone statue's eyes opened, and the entire hall transformed into a sea of light rain. Do you wish to obtain the 7 strange insects in his possession? Yes. The fourth divine son replied candidly, then added, I also desire the ghost banner he carries, to present it to Master. But most of all, I wish to eliminate this threat to the divine cult and avenge the fallen disciples. The stone statue chuckled. Venerable Yao Qingshan of the south, being of the Zhu Li tribe, naturally favors the divine hidden ones of the Zhu Li hidden sect. That's understandable. But to protect a murderer who has slain countless ricefolk, Rendao, heavenly prides is truly unbecoming of a venerable. Wang Shu, you fear no authority and are devoted to the divine cult's future. Proceed boldly and without hesitation. Overjoyed by his master's support, the fourth divine son's eyes remained calm. But since entering the southern purity Nanqing Palace, he hasn't emerged, which complicates matters. I dare not trespass within the southern purity Nanqing Palace. The stone statue said, your brother died at his hands. From a personal standpoint, the elders of the divine cult would understand any extreme actions you take. They would undoubtedly stand by our own divine son. Moreover, Venerable Nan's mission went awry this time. Whether she can retain her position as venerable remains uncertain. She likely won't have time to deal with Li Wei. The fourth divine son, cautious by nature, didn't want to offend Venerable Nan too deeply. I believe it would be better to force him out of the southern purity Nanqing Palace before striking. We happen to have many hostages in our custody, imprisoned in the divine prison and subjected to torture. It's too lenient to simply use their blood to water the fields. The stone statue replied, since you have your own plans, proceed as you see fit. Also, you must intensify your cultivation. That woman from the Yang family is reportedly pushing hard to break through to the third realm of the Dao Seed realm. She's covered ground in a year that would normally take you 7 or 8 years. Sikong Jingyuan and Sikong Yanlin are also about to return from their training in the nether realm of the dead, reportedly with significant gains in cultivation. If you don't condense your Dao Lotus within the next 6 months to a year, you'll likely find yourself in an awkward position among the divine sons and daughters. The fourth divine son's gaze darkened. As long as I obtain the larva of 7 Lord Marquis grade strange insects, my status within the cult will undoubtedly rise to second only to the first divine son. Li Wei, I will definitely capture him. Li Wei paid no attention to the outside world's gossip, immersing himself in cultivation. Accumulating power in the Five Seas realm was a long process every martial mystic cultivator had to endure. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. With the aid of the cocoon of time, his true cultivation time had at least doubled. Standing in the blood-mud space, he didn't use any techniques. A casual palm strike sent a dragon's roar echoing through the air. The palm force shattered the air with a violent explosion. The five-fingered imprint of Qi flew over a dozen meters before completely dissipating. Only 2 dragon bones left. One will be refined into the palm bone of my left hand, the other into the palm bone of my right hand. Li Wei moved his hands, feeling an unusual heaviness, as if each palm was weighed down by 1,000 caddies of iron. It would take time to dispel this discomfort. But the increase in strength was undeniable. The rewards offered by the Calamity Crossing Temple were naturally extraordinary. It was said that refining even a single piece of them in the 5 Seas realm would allow a martial mystic cultivator to challenge those in the Dao Seed realm. A year had passed since the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. Li Wei had never stopped cultivating his physical body. After achieving his Dao body, he had spent the past year refining a pound of immortal soil and a significant amount of divine cauldron wood. His physical strength and durability had doubled. Without a Dao seed of breakthrough, Li Wei's life essence hadn't undergone a fundamental transformation. His body's ability to absorb immortal soil was slowing down, becoming increasingly difficult. Master Coffin had said that cultivating a immortal body, one capable of directly confronting immortal realm giants, required refining about 10 pounds of immortal soil. Without breaking through to the Dao Seed realm, 2 pounds of immortal soil was Li Wei's current limit. The divine cauldron wood used to refine his tendons and reshape his skin faced the same predicament, his body could no longer absorb it effectively. Trapped in this bottleneck of physical cultivation, Li Wei had refined the 2 dragon bones to boost his strength. What troubled him even more was the stagnation of his 7th sea cultivation due to a lack of spring liquid. The 50,000 drops of spring liquid he had purchased earlier had been used up 36,000 drops for cultivating his wind mansion, and the rest for expanding his 7th sea ancestral field to 14,000 square feet. Now, his spring liquid reserves were completely depleted. The remaining Dao fruit held little spiritual qi. Li Wei remembered the market town he had visited before. Perhaps I can buy spring liquid there, he mused, but without a life token, leaving Southern Purity Nanqing Palace would be incredibly dangerous. Besides, where will the money come from? This is a huge sum. After exiting the blood mud space, Li Wei pondered how to raise the funds. He stepped out of the formation's light curtain surrounding the Buddha pagoda and headed toward the formation surrounding the rice fields. After several days of closed-door cultivation, his stomach growled with hunger. In his boundary pouch, the food he had prepared for the underground immortal abode was almost entirely consumed. Only 2 months had passed in the real world, but to him, it felt like he had spent 4 or 5 months in the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace. He desperately craved a hot bowl of soup. Yao Qingshan, being an immortal, could endure prolonged periods without food or water, and the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace offered no meat. He walked through the dimly lit garden. White courtyard walls, black artificial mountains, and purple-red glowing ancient trees surrounded him. Li Wei had walked this path countless times, always feeling safe in the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace and never maintaining constant, high-intensity vigilance. Suddenly, he sensed something amiss. He abruptly stopped, staring at the shadows cast by branches and leaves on the ground. It felt as though he were walking on water, with ripples spreading out beneath his feet. Who's there? The heaven and earth nerves, like a spiderweb, shot out in all directions. The heavenly eye opened in the center of Li Wei's brow, illuminating the entire garden as bright as day. Every hair on Li Wei's body stood on end, and a sharp pain shot through his back. He knew without a doubt that he had been struck. His attacker had been lurking in the shadows, a master of concealment, waiting for the moment Li Wei was lost in thought to strike a fatal blow. But Li Wei was wearing the blood handprint demon armor, which had deflected the surprise attack. Boom! His internal organs lurched violently, and his body was flung forward. His physical body had been honed to extraordinary strength, allowing him to withstand the blow without serious injury, suffering only minor wounds. Determined not to give his opponent a chance to press the attack, Li Wei unleashed a torrent of spiritual qi, activating the blood handprint demon armor. Blood mist and crimson scriptures rapidly spread outward, filling the entire garden. As he was sent flying backward, Li Wei forcibly twisted his body, using his heavenly eye to glimpse the attacker. The figure moved with incredible speed, a swirling mass of black mist wielding a blood-patterned wooden sword. It struck like lightning. Li Wei sensed an unprecedentedly eerie aura emanating from the wooden sword. I can't touch it. He formed a seal with his right hand and thrust it forward. Whoosh! The Siheng Enlightenment finger, fierce and domineering, transformed into a beam of light that shot out and collided with the thrusting wooden sword. The wooden sword was knocked aside, and the misty figure staggered backward, emitting a low, mournful howl. Li Wei had now cultivated to the 7th sea, refining 6th-level spiritual qi. The battle intent behind him, a 6-jong tall projection, towered over any battle intent of a 5 seas realm martial mystic cultivator. No ordinary Dao Seed realm martial mystic cultivator could withstand this finger. How dare you trespass on Venerable Nan's territory? After landing, Li Wei ignored his injuries. A spirit light fire whip shot from his brow, stretching dozens of zhong long and carrying the golden crow flame. Its golden light was blinding as it lashed out at the misty figure. Boom! The air exploded in flames. The golden crow flame incinerated all the plants in the garden, turning them to ash. The misty figure shrieked, flying backward and crashing through a rockery before collapsing motionless on the ground. Li Wei drew the yellow dragon sword, his figure flashing forward as he pointed his sword at the fallen figure. He saw the figure on the ground clearly. He froze. It was a straw man, dressed in black robes and life-sized. Struck by the golden crow flame whip just moments ago, the straw man crackled and burned, quickly turning to ashes. Amidst the ashes, at its chest, a crimson glow lingered. It was a fist-sized blood crystal, etched with countless talismanic runes. Crack! The blood crystal's energy depleted, causing it to shatter into dust. No wonder it could conceal its presence so completely, it was just a straw man. How could a straw man be so powerful, rivaling a Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator? Li Wei was still shaken. If it had aimed for his head instead of his back, the consequences would have been far more dire. The 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors, alerted by the commotion, flew to his side. They had grown considerably, but still hadn't reached a foot in length, hovering just below that threshold, unable to break through. It's a puppet technique straw man, from the heavenly principles Tianli Hall. Yao Qingxian strode from the stone path, her beauty like a figure from a painting, her aura as cold as frost, her gaze icy. From afar, she drew the blood-patterned wooden sword into her hand and examined it. The power of a curse. Only at this moment did Li Wei finally breathe a sigh of relief. His tense nerves relaxed slightly as he circulated his spiritual qi to heal his wounds. Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall. Senior Yao, you've finally returned. It seems they didn't take you, a venerable, seriously. If they truly dared to disrespect me, the one who would have entered Southern Purity Nanqing Palace to kill you wouldn't have been a straw man. Yao Qingxian continued, it's good you're still alive. My journey back here wasn't in vain. To survive the assassination attempt by the puppet technique straw man, your cultivation must have grown significantly. Li Wei was surprised. Senior, did you return specifically to save me? Before Palace Master and left headquarters, she said you could help the golden rice grow and instructed me to protect you at all costs. An unyielding chill emanated from Yao Qingxian. With a flick of her fragrant sleeve, she hurled the wooden sword in her hand. Whoosh! The wooden sword shot out of Southern Purity Nanqing Palace, slicing through the sky for 100 miles. It pierced through the heavenly principles Tianli Hall's guardian formation's light veil and embedded itself completely in the door of one of its grand halls. Several figures rushed out of the heavenly principles Tianli Hall, their eyes fixed on the wooden sword. They exchanged bewildered glances. Yao Qingxian is already in dire straits herself, unable to even capture a Tang Wanzhou, and has lost all face. Yet she still acts so forcefully, determined to protect that young man. How interesting. Doesn't she care about appearances? A surprised, aged voice echoed through the heavenly principles Tianli Hall. Southern Purity Nanqing Palace. Yao Qingxian said, this sword strike serves as a warning. Those old geezers in the heavenly principles Tianli Hall should now understand my stance. No one outside the rules will attack you, and no one will dare trespass into the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace again. Li Wei asked, why does the heavenly principles Tianli Hall want to kill me? What's the difference between being inside and outside the rules? An eye for an eye, a life for a life, that's within the rules. You've killed many divine cult experts. If their relatives seek revenge, I can't stop them. But if any of those relatives are old geezers, I can shield you from their attacks, Yao Qingxian replied. Though Li Wei knew Yao Qingxian was protecting him because of the golden rice and in Shanjing, a warmth still spread through his heart. He bowed deeply in sincere gratitude. Have you seen Tang Wanzhou in the past 2 months? Yao Qingxian suddenly asked, her gaze fixed on him. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 37 292 Becoming a Disciple of Yao Qingxian. 37th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. What? Tang Wanzhou. Li Wei looked blank, unsure why she was asking. Yao Qingxian saw that Li Wei was genuinely clueless. Her willow eyebrows furrowed, and her eyes narrowed in suspicion. For the past 2 months, Li Wei had been secluded in the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace, cultivating in peace and tranquility. Yet she had been playing a cat-and-mouse game with Tang Wanzhou on the outskirts of the main hall. Though she held the upper hand, relentlessly suppressing Tang Wanzhou, repeatedly catching and wounding her, she had never managed to capture her. 1,000 years ago, the catastrophe that erupted in the Lingxiao realm had ravaged the land, toppling mountains and diverting rivers. It was during this time that the Twin Rice sect stumbled upon the entrance to an underground immortal mansion. They opened this immortal secret realm and obtained the boundless treasures left behind by the ancient Bhagavata sect. Because Zhenhai Guanwu had always forbidden the cultivation of benevolent rice in the Lingxiao realm, the twin rice sect was then in decline, forced to hide and survive. They slowly excavated the secret realm, exploring its treasure troves and battling fierce insects, dead spirits, and other unknown anomalies within the underground immortal mansion. This matter was of utmost importance, and they dared not let too many people know. The process of exploration and excavation was the twin rice sect's path to gradual strength. The underground immortal mansion was vast, like a hollow sphere thousands of miles in diameter. The ancient Bhagavata sect had built it over at least 20 or 30,000 years, concealing countless dangers, profound mysteries, and a seemingly endless supply of treasures and resources. The twin rice sect had spent 1,000 years exploring and constructing, yet they had only cleared, modified, and built up a few hundred miles near the entrance. In terms of volume, this represented less than 1% of the entire underground immortal mansion. The great powers within the sect had naturally ventured further, but they faced a constant barrage of dangers. They had to meticulously lay out defensive formations step by step before expanding and consolidating their gains. Moreover, they dared not make too much noise, lest they trigger an earthquake and alert the transcendence of the Lingxiao realm. The pace of modification and construction was infinitely slower than mere exploration. Some areas even the Ren Dao ancestor himself regarded with extreme caution, forcing them to detour. Of course, the twin rice sect's entrance to the underground immortal mansion wasn't the one Qilin Zhuang had blasted open a year ago with his supreme artifact. They had found another way in. In fact, the twin rice sect had been completely unaware of the entrance Qilin Zhuang had breached, as it happened to be located at the farthest edge of their exploration zone. It was precisely because Qilin Zhuang had outmaneuvered them that the twin rice sect was forced to gradually reveal its fangs from the shadows, stepping into the light and accelerating its plans. Their activities became increasingly frequent and overt. Normally, they had planned to wait until Snow Sword Tang Court descended south, Zuoqiu sect marched north, and the rebel army destroyed the Lingxiao palace. Only then would they emerge to clean up the mess and claim the final victory. But Qilin Zhuang's interference threw all the hidden and overt forces in the Lingxiao realm into chaos, completely derailing their plans. For the past 2 months, Yao Qingshan and Tang Wanzhou's pursuit had taken place outside the formations surrounding the main hall's completed construction zone. Layer upon layer of formations, like a 1,000-layered cake, had been built over 1,000 years, enveloping the entire main hall. Yet they weren't airtight. Yao Qingshan suspected Tang Wanzhou had found a gap and slipped inside. Seeing the stunning woman's expression shift between shadows and light, Li Wei cautiously asked, "Did Tang Wanzhou escape the divine prison, or has she never been captured?" "What? Are you pleased to hear she's still on the run?" Yao Qingshan asked. "Tang Wanzhou is my friend." Li Wei didn't deny it. Offering a weak defense before a mortal realm great power would only earn her contempt. Yao Qingshan said, "You care so much about your friend. Do you know that your other 2 friends might be suffering unspeakable torture right now? Can you care about them all?" Li Wei's expression hardened. Senior Yao means. Yao Qingshan and Shanjing were both dressed in pristine white, untouched by dust. Yet their personalities were as distinct as their appearances, one clear and calm, the other cold and graceful. This woman, once renowned as the most beautiful in the world, possessed the same long, straight, and slender legs as Yaoan. Her waist was exceptionally high, her peaks full and upright, and her bearing even more refined. As she walked ahead, a fragrant breeze swirled around her, her immortal robes billowing as she entered the shimmering golden light of the rice field. Li Wei followed closely behind, pressing her for an answer. "Senior, are you referring to the 2 people captured 2 months ago?" Though he always addressed her as senior, he often felt disoriented, as if she were Yaoan grown up. The resemblance was simply too striking. Of course, in this perilous situation, with his opponent being a ruthless figure, Li Wei dared not offend her. In the blood field, the golden rice was growing at an astonishing rate. From its height of 3 feet 2 months ago, it had now grown to over 10 feet, multiplying several times over. The golden light it emitted was even more dazzling, with over a dozen leaves that shimmered with a golden texture, their edges sharp like saw teeth. Within, the life chi surged with vitality. It was completely different now, as if it could truly nurture extraordinary heavenly prides, capable of crushing all human race experts. A charming smile played across Yao Qingshan's jade-like face, a flicker of anticipation in her eyes. But the smile quickly faded. "You didn't water it with your own blood, did you?" "No, I used the light and shadow of the Fusong divine tree to provide illumination. I'm using spiritual qi to help it breathe better. It's the fruit of your Inhal Master An's labor. Watering it with my blood would be disrespectful to both of you." Li Wei channeled a wisp of spiritual qi from his fingertip, which transformed into a cloud mist that enveloped the golden rice. Immediately, the golden rice began to breathe visibly, its stalk swaying rhythmically. You're overthinking things and making things difficult for yourself. On the path of cultivation, you'll bleed countless times, staining the earth or being taken by others. If you're so conflicted and hesitant about watering a single plant, your state of mind must be a tangled mess. When will you ever achieve clarity and insight? Yao Qingshan slit her slender, jade-white wrist, spilling blood into the rice paddy. She then had Li Wei retrieve the cold jade bottle and fill it completely, enough for the next 2 months of watering. A radiant glow flashed across her wrist, and the wound vanished. The person you asked Hall Master and to find is involved in a major event outside. She doesn't have time to help you. Before leaving, she asked me to find him for you, saying that having a weakness would help you better cultivate the rice for her. Yao Qingshan continued, that person is imprisoned in the divine prison. When my people reached the prison, he had already been taken away by the fourth divine son Wangshu. The inheritor of the Northern Territory Tuoba clan was taken at the same time. Li Wei's gaze narrowed slightly. Of course he knew about the feud between himself and the fourth divine son. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Wang Ji and the fourth divine son were Ren Dao brothers, identical in appearance. He's too afraid to barge into the southern purity Nanqing palace, so he's using my 2 friends to force me out. Li Wei turned to Yao Qingshan, who wore an indifferent expression, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I suspect that even if the puppet straw man came from the heavenly principles Tianli Hall, it's not an elder controlling it. More likely, it's Wang Shu. He's so focused on dealing with me that he's completely disregarded your status as a venerable one. Yao Qingshan tilted her head slightly, glancing at Li Wei, who stood half a head taller than her. She gave him a cold look. Is this the level of the divine hidden one of the Zhu Li hidden sect? Using an immortal realm great power so bluntly. Li Wei quickly explained, Senior's sword throw was undeniably powerful. But didn't it also bring the underlying conflict into the open? From a single glimpse, one can see the whole picture. The Twin Rice sect is far from monolithic, there must be internal struggles for power and resources. This time, the other party suffered no losses, only being temporarily subdued. We can anticipate that they will soon test Senior's limits again, undermining Senior's authority as a venerable one. Once this precedent is set, will the 7 great elders of the Southern Territory, who serve Senior, and those below them begin to doubt Senior's strength, harboring ulterior motives? And will those above in the divine sect perceive Senior as lacking competence? Given Yao Qingshan's status, how could she have sent someone to find Qi Xiao without also sending someone to demand Wang Shu's release? There was only one explanation, she had asked, but Wang Shu had refused to cooperate. Yao Qingshan's earlier remark about Li Wei's friend possibly suffering inhumane torture was a deliberate provocation, designed to stir Li Wei's emotions and push him into a confrontation with Wang Shu. Li Wei, as expected, followed her lead. Yao Qingshan stared directly into Li Wei's eyes, her gaze like 2 icy stars. After a moment of eye contact, Li Wei bowed deeply. With Senior's status, you would naturally disdain to personally deal with a mere Wang Shu. Grant me a position, and I will resolve this matter for you, making the provocateur pay the price. What position do you desire? Yao Qingshan asked. Yao and I are as close as siblings, but I could become a disciple of Senior Yao. Li Wei knew that escaping the main hall required a step-by-step approach. The first step was to obtain an official status that would allow him to move freely within the main hall. Otherwise, being confined to the southern purity Nanqing palace would be like waiting for death. Yao Qingshan asked, are you trying to join the divine sect? The divine sect has done nothing to wrong me. Hall Master and Senior Yao have shown me great kindness, which has greatly improved my impression of the sect and inspired me to pursue it. Li Wei recited clearly and solemnly, Twin Rice sect, ever victorious. Ancestor of the Rice sect, virtuous in both civil and martial mystic cultivation, may your legacy endure for 10,000 generations, and may you unite the world. Yao Qingshan was momentarily stunned. It seems you've taken my words to heart. But if I were to ask you where the Zhu Li hidden sect is hiding, how would you respond? Li Wei replied, I will not betray the Zhu Li hidden sect. Then what is the sincerity of your desire to join the divine sect? Yao Qingshan pressed. Li Wei was about to launch into a grand speech, showcasing his integrity and pride. Yao Qingshan cut him off, saying, if those old fogies in the sect ask, just blame it on me. If that doesn't work, just tell them the truth. Li province has always been on the fringes of the world. The divine sect currently lacks the resources to target the Zhu Li hidden sect. The major players in the world's power dynamics are Lingxiao City, the far western Ashlands, the Demon Race, the Zhuoqiu sect, the Snow Sword Tang Court, the Thundercloud sect, the Zhu sect, and the Dragon sect. The declining Zhu Li clan and the Zhu Li hidden sect would rank 10th or lower. The Zhu Li clan's clan chiefs, known for their patience and willingness to compromise, see this as a way to preserve their people. Li Wei was completely stunned, his eyes flickering. He desperately wanted to ask the question that had been nagging at him. He first heard of the Twin Rice sect from the Hidden Lord. The Hidden Lord claimed that a hidden elder of Zhu Li hidden sect, had sent word that he, Li Wei, was being targeted by the sect. The hidden elder was investigating the reasons behind this, hoping to defuse the danger before it materialized. Clearly, a hidden one elder was secretly embedded within the Twin Rice sect. And if Shanjing was the one targeting him, how could the hidden elder have learned about it so quickly? They must be very close. Therefore, Li Wei had long suspected that Yao Qingshan might be the hidden elder. He had hesitated to ask, partly because Yao Qingshan's first appearance had been terrifying. Her attacks were ruthless, leaving a trail of corpses in her wake. Li Wei had been deeply intimidated by her, viewing her as a female demon. Second, her talent was too high. Li Wei suspected that even Lao Li might not be her match. If she truly were a member of the hidden sect, she should have been a hidden lord from the previous 60-year cycle. Third, Li Wei worried that asking would expose the Twin Rice sect's secret of hiding a hidden elder, putting the elder in danger. Fourth, if Yao Qingshan were the hidden elder, why wouldn't she avoid suspicion? Logically, she should have sent Li Wei directly to the divine prison or immediately handed him over to Shanjing, minimizing her involvement. Li Wei asked, Senior Yao, aren't you curious about where the Zhu Li hidden sect is hidden? Not at all. Yao Qingshan continued, by accepting you as my disciple, I'm taking responsibility for all your actions. I will plant the death spirit fire within you. If you dare to act against the divine sect, I can turn you to ashes with a single thought. Even if you flee to the ends of the earth, I will find you. Li Wei couldn't confirm Yao Qingshan's identity, but he was certain that his guardian wife could block her death spirit fire. So he said, Senior, rest assured. I know what's at stake. Still calling me, Senior. Li Wei followed Yao Qingshan out of the southern Purity Nanqing Palace, preparing to head to the Spirit Valley Linggu Hall for the True Inheritance Disciple Assessment. With a venerable one personally escorting him, it was essentially a guarantee. Coupled with Yao Qingshan's relationship with the Hall Master of the Spirit Valley Linggu Hall, the assessment was merely a formality, a check to confirm his spiritual master cultivation. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 38 293 Brother-in-Law. 38th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The two emerged from the gates of the southern Purity Nanqing Palace. Li Wei sensed something and glanced into the forest. He clasped his hands and said, Master, please wait for a moment. Yao Qingshan, always maintaining her aloof demeanor, nodded slightly. The southern Purity Nanqing Palace was located south of the Spirit Valley Linggu Hall, in a densely packed area of buildings backed by low mountains and bordering the Blood River. Dense forest stretched before them, leading to vast rice paddies in the distance. Zuo Sheng, having met Li Wei before and being a seasoned veteran of 100 years, had been sent by the fourth divine son to relay news about Qishao and Tuo Babuchuo. Unfortunately, Li Wei had spent most of his time cultivating in the Tanggu Sea and hadn't heard Zuo Sheng's message. So Zuo Sheng had been waiting outside the southern Purity Nanqing Palace, ready to report Li Wei's appearance the moment he emerged. He's finally come out. It's indeed him. And that. Zuo Sheng saw Li Wei and the ethereal white-robed woman standing beside him, who seemed like a celestial immortal descended to the mortal realm. He gasped, recognizing her immediately. Just as he was about to leave. Whoosh. The air thickened, becoming as viscous as quicksand. Damn it, I'm trapped in a spiritual power field. Zuo Sheng's first reaction was to assume Venerable Nan was targeting him, never considering the spiritual power originated from Li Wei. The spiritual power was so intense that even his second-layer Dao Seed Realm cultivation was severely restricted. It wasn't until he saw Li Wei charging at him with his sword drawn that he realized the truth. What a terrifying aura. Zuo Sheng, still reeling from the shock, immediately unleashed his Dao Heart manifestation. Countless icy crystal patterns spread from his body, shattering Li Wei's spiritual power restraint. He fled in panic. 3 flaming light whips shot from Li Wei's brow, slicing through the void and lashing out in 3 overlapping waves of flame. Zuo Sheng, a century-old cultivator with profound Dao technique mastery, had cultivated the minor technique, Ice Thorn Entanglement technique, to its second layer. Once activated, it doubled his combat power, surpassing even the might of a 100-character artifact. Dao techniques are divided into minor techniques, great techniques, and imperial techniques. Minor techniques, with only 3 layers, are the preferred choice for Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators. Typically, a year or 2 of diligent practice is enough to master the first layer. Cultivating to the second layer requires over a decade of refinement, while the third layer takes a full Jazi, 60 years to even have a chance of success. Of course, for Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators, the cultivation time for minor techniques is significantly reduced. Great techniques, with 6 layers, are the preferred choice for Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators and Dao Seed Realm inheritors. Even after reaching the first layer of cultivation, the power of Great Technique far surpasses that of minor techniques. Moreover, Great Technique has 4th, 5th, and 6th layers, each increasing in power. At its peak, it can destroy the heavens and earth, move mountains, and shift oceans. Only great immortal cultivators who have lived for centuries can possibly cultivate Great Technique to its 6th layer. Because Dao techniques are so difficult to master, the younger generation's heavens chosen typically rely on high-grade spiritual artifacts to compensate for the gap in combat power. Older martial mystic cultivators, on the other hand, prefer Dao techniques. Dao techniques can be cast at will, without fear of being stolen or destroyed. They remain eternally yours. Furthermore, many Dao techniques can even aid in breaking through martial mystic path cultivation barriers, allowing both technique and law to advance in tandem, complementing each other. Boom. Boom. As the second layer of the ice thorn entanglement technique erupted, a dozen frost thorns shot out from Zuo Sheng's body, colliding in midair with the 3 golden crow flame light whips released from Li Wei's forehead. The whips lashed through the air, creating a howling wind. The scene was grand. In an instant, the entire forest was flattened, leaving behind only scorched ashes and frozen earth. What a formidable Dao technique. With this technique, Zuo Sheng is like wielding a 4th grade 100-character artifact in our battle. Li Wei used his golden crow flame light whip and spiritual, psychic or telekinesis power to restrain Zuo Sheng, then employed his movement technique to swiftly pursue him, determined to capture him. A 4th grade 100-character artifact, worth several 100,000 Xuanhuan coins, would have emptied the pockets of a martial mystic cultivator in the second heaven of the Dao Seed Realm. Yet here, Zuo Sheng was unleashing such power solely through Dao techniques. Moreover, at his age, how could he possibly have mastered only one? Unfortunately for him, he had crossed paths with Li Wei. Li Wei was clad in the 9th grade 100-character artifact level blood handprint demon armor. Such defense was impenetrable to minor techniques, even though he had not yet reached the Dao Seed Realm and could not fully activate the armor's true power. With the blood handprint demon armor's defense activated, Li Wei traversed the frost thorns, feeling the biting cold against his face. Closing in, he swung his sword straight down. 2 frost thorns were severed, and Zuo Sheng was sent flying backward, his protective spiritual chi shattered. How can he be so strong? Zuo Sheng was terrified. He activated his evasion Dao technique. Whoosh. A light flashed between Li Wei's eyebrows as his spiritual power attack transformed into a spiderweb, enveloping Zuo Sheng layer by layer. Zuo Sheng's greatest strength lay in his evasion Dao technique. Even against masters from the Jiazi register, he had a chance of escaping. Enveloped by spiritual power, Zuo Sheng's spells were severely restricted, and even his mind and reflexes had become sluggish. Li Wei quickly caught up to him. Zuo Sheng manipulated frost thorns, retreating while fending off Li Wei's battle sword. Qishao and Tuoba Buchuo are both in the 4th Divine Sun's hands, Li Wei. Don't be so arrogant. Hearing this, Li Wei's eyes grew colder. He dared not unleash his 6 Zhongtal battle intent, but his sword techniques grew increasingly swift, forcing Zuo Sheng into a desperate struggle for survival. This is the divine cult's headquarters. Don't be so arrogant here. If you dare kill me, not even Venerable Nan can protect you. The withered flourish Karong Hall will tear you to shreds and feed your remains to the rice fields. Zuo Sheng's space for maneuver grew smaller with each passing moment. His confidence crumbled as he fought, feeling his century of cultivation reduced to a joke, utterly helpless against a junior who had only cultivated for 2 years. Whoosh. Crack. Li Wei cleaved through every frost thorn Zuo Sheng unleashed. His form shifted unpredictably as his sword struck Zuo Sheng's shoulder. Zuo Sheng activated his 2nd grade 100-character artifact battle armor to defend himself, which dissipated most of the force. His body was sent flying, crashing to the ground dozens of meters away, where he tumbled and rolled. Li Wei didn't give Zuo Sheng a chance to get back on his feet. He stomped down with the Jade Cauldron's light and shadow, which crashed down with a thunderous roar. The ground sank, leaving a 2-zhong-wide crater. Even with his 2nd heaven cultivation in the Dao Seed Realm, Zuo Sheng couldn't withstand the blow. His bones cracked, leaving him severely injured. He coughed up blood and collapsed, unable to rise again. Li Wei. Yi. You mustn't kill me. I know who's behind Zuoqiu Qingying. She wants to kill you. The Zuoqiu clan is plotting against you, and it's someone even more powerful. Zuo Sheng, like all men, grew more afraid of death with age. He groveled at the bottom of the crater, begging for mercy. Li Wei leapt into the crater, stripped Zuo Sheng of his 2nd grade 100-character artifact battle armor, and seized his boundary pouch. He knew his limits. How could he kill Zuo Sheng? After all, a living Zuo Sheng was far more useful. Li Wei was desperately short of money right now. With enough funds, reaching the Dao Seed realm would be within his grasp. Besides Zuo Sheng guarding the southern purity Nanqing Palace, Yang Yun, now homeless, was also lurking nearby. Yang Yun couldn't escape. He was brought before Li Wei by 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors. His former arrogance was completely gone. His legs buckled, and he collapsed to his knees, wailing, "Brother-in-law, please return my money. If I can't get it back, my sister will disown me. I can't even return to the goddess pavilion now, wandering outside like a lost soul." Li Wei was taken aback by this sudden reversal of roles. He moved aside, unwilling to accept such a grand gesture. "Get up. Stop shouting nonsense. Brother-in-law, I was wrong. I must have been wrong before. For the sake of family, please give me a chance to survive." Yang Yun sobbed, crawling forward on his knees. Li Wei dodged him again, noticing a crowd of onlookers gathering in the distance, core disciples and true inheritance disciples of the Twin Rice sect. "Get up first. I have a matter that requires your assistance. If you succeed, I'll find a way to appease your sister." Yang Yun looked up, his face lighting up. "The 100,000 Yongquan coins. If you insist on kneeling, then keep kneeling." Li Wei crouched down, reached for Zuo Sheng's left leg, and suddenly applied force with both hands. Bang! Zuo Sheng screamed as the bone in his left leg snapped. Yang Yun, attacked by familiar memories, sprang to his feet like lightning, standing ramrod straight. "Brother-in-law, what orders do you have for me?" Li Wei said, "Go to the fourth divine son and tell him that Zuo Sheng is in my custody. I demand 50,000 Yongquan coins for his release, a fair price. As a divine son, if he can bear to watch his follower suffer without lifting a finger, no one will ever follow him again. Don't leave out a single word of what I just said. Tell him everything exactly as I said it." Yang Yun wasn't stupid. He knew the consequences of getting involved in this matter. Li Wei wasn't just using him, he was also trying to drag his sister into it. Bang! Zuo Sheng's right leg was snapped as well. Yang Yun wanted to cry but couldn't. Regret twisted his gut until it turned green. Shivering uncontrollably, he pleaded, "Brother-in-law, this isn't a path to survival, you're pushing me to the brink of death." Li Wei snapped Zuo Sheng's hands as well, breaking all 4 limbs to prevent escape, the most brutal and secure method. Li Wei stood up, walked over, and patted Yang Yun on the shoulder. "I just want you to deliver a message. Don't overthink it. I'm now a member of the divine cult, a disciple of Venerable Nan." Ah! Yang Yun was stunned, his scalp prickling with a mixture of numbness and tingling. "Let's go." Yao Qingshan, already impatient, strode ahead towards Spirit Valley, Linggu Hall. Li Wei tossed Zuo Sheng into the southern purity Nanqing Palace, ordering the 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors to guard him. He then walked past Yang Yun, saying, "Are you stupid? You're working for me, which means I won't kill you. 10,000 Yongquan coins for your life, what's so expensive about that?" Yang Yun, terrified, sank to his knees. He finally remembered that he had once nearly taken Li Wei's life. "Brother-in-law, rest assured. I'll handle this." Yang Yun scrambled away, his first destination not the fourth divine son's residence, but Yang Qingshi's goddess pavilion. He had to deliver the explosive news of Li Wei's acceptance as a disciple of Venerable Nan. Li Wei knew he couldn't let Wang Shu lead him by the nose. He couldn't go to Wang Shu's territory to rescue Zuo Sheng, that would be too passive. Therefore, Zuo Sheng's value had to be maximized. Li Wei had deliberately broken Zuo Sheng's limbs to make a show of force for the disciples of the Twin Rice sect, forcing Wang Shu to take the initiative. As the divine son, Wang Shu represented the Twin Rice sect's honor. He had enjoyed the glory, but now he was also on the line. Yao Qingshan said, "You're new here. Even if you become my disciple, don't overstep. Everything must be within the rules. If you provoke the ire of the younger generation, I won't be able to protect you. Your focus should be on cultivating golden rice. They used a puppet technique strawman to assassinate me first. Then Zuo Sheng brazenly hid outside your residence, master, spying on you with malicious intent. How could I let that slide? My actions were entirely reasonable," Li Wei countered. Yao Qingshan said, "Wang Shu has been at the third realm of the Dao Seed realm for 3 years. He's very close to the fourth realm, where he will condense his Dao Lotus. You're no match for him." Li Wei asked, "There's something that's always puzzled me. Wang Shu isn't a pure immortal physique. Why was he chosen as the divine son?" Yao Qingshan replied, 100 meridians pure silver immortal physique is the standard for inheritor-level geniuses in the 5 Seas realm. But once they reach the Dao Seed realm, they might not be able to keep up. Martial mystic cultivators who fall behind in the 5 Seas realm still have a chance to catch up in the Dao Seed realm. However, it's incredibly difficult, requiring immense effort, extraordinary opportunities, or exceptional comprehension. Cultivation is like rowing upstream. You must strive in every realm, for anyone can catch up at any stage. Li Wei asked, "Which category does Wang Shu belong to?" Yao Qingshan replied, he possesses exceptional comprehension, particularly in Dao technique cultivation. He broke through to the Dao seed realm only 3 years ago, yet he has already mastered the first layer of the great technique, the golden armor mountain moving technique. This grants him a golden armor defense and superhuman strength, allowing him to rival inheritors of the same realm with his physical power alone. This achievement propelled him to become a divine son in one fell swoop. If he can master the second layer of the golden armor mountain moving technique, he can instantly forge a Dao lotus using this technique, reaching the fourth heaven of the Dao seed realm. Before this, no young heavenly pride below the fourth heaven of the Dao seed realm in the divine cult, not even inheritors, had ever managed to cultivate a great technique. Great techniques are infinitely profound, not something that can be mastered through time alone. They are offensive laws cultivated by immortal realm giants. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuanhuan Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 39 294 The Eldest Disciple. 39th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the Twin Rice Sect, cultivators at the Spring Surge realm are considered outer sect disciples. Reaching the 5 Seas realm qualifies one as an inner sect disciple. Upon reaching the 5th stage of the 5 Seas realm, one officially becomes a core disciple, with the opportunity to become a registered disciple under an elder, venerable one, or hall master. Those who have achieved a breakthrough Dao seed are known as true inheritance disciples. True inheritance disciples hold an extremely high status and can independently undertake missions. These might include exploring uncharted areas of the underground immortal mansion, intercepting and capturing intruders, or venturing to the surface for cultivation experience. Those with even higher cultivation are called great true inheritance disciples. They stand on equal footing with the elders, enjoy greater autonomy, and can establish their own prefectures. After planting the death spirit fire, they gain unrestricted access to the main hall. Li Wei followed Yao Qingshan to the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall. Greetings, Venerable Nan. We welcome the Venerable One's arrival. Wherever Yao Qingshan passed, all inner sect disciples and core disciples retreated to the roadside, kneeling on one knee with their heads bowed, not daring to raise their heads. Even true inheritance disciples had to bow respectfully, each filled with awe. This was the power of an immortal realm great power. Transcending the realm of mortals, wielding the power of life and death, they were among the most influential figures in any faction. Elder Shu, whose name was Shu Tingsheng, was responsible for assessing and registering true inheritance disciples. The moment he saw Yao Qingshan enter, his drowsiness vanished, replaced by sudden alertness as he rushed forward to greet her. This is my first disciple, Li Wei. Go register him. Yao Qingshan didn't even glance at him, instead sitting directly at the head of the hall, in Elder Shu's usual seat. Anyone who could cultivate their Dao heart manifestation to the level of one Li world, after the age of 60 could be promoted to elder. True inheritance disciples who failed to reach this level by 60 would end up like Zuo Sheng and Zuo Shi, forced to endure the humiliation of being bossed around and manipulated by younger divine sons and goddesses. One Li world was also the minimum requirement for entry into the Jiazi register. Shi Zhoujai was at the 5th heaven of the Dao seed realm, having reached this level. Inheritor level figures often reached the 4th heaven of the Dao seed realm, condensing a Dao lotus. Their Dao heart manifestation could then touch the one Li world and enter the Jiazi register. Even among elders, those from the Heaven Valley Tianjia Hall, responsible for the 28 prefectures of the Lingxiao realm, held greater prestige and power. Some were even holy spiritual masters and immortal realm great powers. The elders from the 28 prefectures of the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's main hall were also of exceptionally high caliber. Li Wei's fame from the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, combined with his identity as a divine hidden one of the Zhu Li hidden sect, caused the news of his acceptance as a disciple by the Venerable Nan to spread rapidly through the main hall. Countless inner sect disciples and core disciples flocked to witness the event, even drawing the attention of true disciples. Following Elder Shu's instructions, Li Wei unleashed his psychic power to its fullest extent. Whoosh! Spiritual light erupted. A miniature sun seemed to reside between his brows, radiating dazzling brilliance. The light was so intense that the inner sect disciples and core disciples present couldn't even open their eyes, completely illuminating the valley where the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall was located. The spiritual light's radiance rose, transforming into 2 mulberry trees intertwined, radiating golden light and scorching heat. Outside the assessment grounds, the Twin Rice sect disciples gasped in astonishment, their voices buzzing with discussion. How could it be psychic power? Isn't he a martial mystic Dao cultivator? I heard he's a peerless genius capable of defying even the young celestial emperors, a talent seen only once in 10,000 years in the Lingxiao realm. You're so ignorant. He cultivates both martial mystic Dao and insect control, a dual cultivator of martial mystic Dao and psychic power. Tisk tisk, before this, no one could have imagined his psychic power was so formidable, far beyond that of a mere one-star spiritual master. His martial mystic Dao was crippled when an immortal realm great power shattered his ancestral field, forcing him to switch to psychic power. So what if his martial mystic Dao path is blocked? A genius will always be a genius. At such a young age, he's already a spiritua master, and with the 7 Lord Marquis grade strange insects he raises, his future achievements are beyond imagination. His spiritual light's radiance is extraordinary, like 2 divine trees. Perhaps one day they'll take root in the earth and spread their branches across the void. Elder Shu was secretly astonished. A 2-star psychic master. He's met the requirements for a true inheritance disciple. Put away your psychic power and spirit light's radiance. Over the past 2 months, Li Wei had completely refined the remaining 7-star spiritual pills. Simultaneously, he had been absorbing the Fusong divine tree's radiance in the Tanggu Sea, pushing his cultivation to the limit of a 2-star psychic master. However, his accumulation time had been too short. Repeated attempts to condense a 3rd spiritual power star had ended in failure. Yao Qingshan, seated at the head of the hall, was slightly surprised. It wasn't Li Wei's significant increase in psychic power that surprised her. After all, she had been informed by Shan Zi that Li Wei possessed the Star Spiritual Pill, a high-grade spiritual pill known to enhance psychic power. What surprised her was that in just 2 months, the golden crow flame condensed from the Fusong divine tree's radiance had grown even stronger. 2 months ago, the golden crow flame he had condensed with his psychic power was only equivalent to a minor technique of the 1st level. If he continued cultivating, the golden crow flame would soon evolve to the power of a great technique of the 1st level. How had he achieved this? The spirit light's radiance of the Fusong divine tree. So profound. Ha ha ha. A thunderous, ear-splitting laughter echoed from the heavens. A projection of a clone, shrouded in spiritual qi, descended from the sky and landed in the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall. It had enormous twin wings and strode in with a majestic gait. Congratulations, Venerable Nan, on accepting such an outstanding disciple and securing a young heavenly emperor-level talent for the divine sect. Outside, the twin rice sect disciples immediately knelt in reverence, kowtowing in unison. Li Wei felt a tremendous pressure and retreated to the side, observing discreetly. Within the bright cloud mist of spiritual qi stood an aberrant humanoid powerhouse, a serpent's head, flood dragon claws, phoenix wings, a dog's tail, and a human body, towering like a mountain. This being had consumed the blood of 4 ancient immortal giant beasts, resulting in 4 distinct transformations. Normally, only immortal realm great powers could achieve such a feat. Though the figure offered congratulations, Li Wei sensed ill intent. Li Wei had intended to conceal his true abilities, revealing only his psychic power talent. Yet the figure had deliberately mentioned, young heavenly emperor, clearly signaling hostile intentions. Yao Qingshan gazed at the aberrant humanoid figure across from him. I merely accepted a disciple. I didn't expect to alarm even the Vice Hall Master of the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall. Vice Hall Master Chu Tianshu of the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall chuckled. Since ancient times, the divine sect has never produced a young heavenly emperor-level prodigy. Now that we've acquired one, it's naturally a cause for celebration throughout the sect. I propose we hold a grand ceremony to directly appoint him as the divine son and notify the 2 rice ancestors of the Sacred Heart level. Yao Qingshan replied, doesn't the Vice Hall Master know that his ancestral field was shattered, severely limiting his path in the martial mystic Dao? He now primarily cultivates psychic power. Chu Tianshu asked, Venerable Nan, have you already investigated this? Was his ancestral field truly shattered? Li Wei remained calm, realizing that the Vice Hall Master's target was Yao Qingshan, not him. What? Does the Vice Hall Master wish to investigate again? I took him as my disciple because of his exceptional talent in psychic power, not his martial mystic path potential, Yao Qingshan replied flawlessly. Chu Tianshu laughed heartily. Since Venerable Nan has already investigated, it must be true. Alas, what a pity. However, cultivating the spiritual light's radiance of the Fusong divine tree, coupled with the aid of 7 Lord Marquis grade strange insects, makes him a legendary psychic power prodigy and insect tamer. The Venerable Nan is at the martial mystic Dao immortal realm. How could she properly teach a psychic power genius? The Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall is the true sacred ground for psychic power cultivation. Li Wei met the gaze of this immortal realm great power with neither arrogance nor humility. Thank you for your kindness, Vice Hall Master. However, I remain unconvinced. I've already prepared to plant a Dao seed in my wind mansion. I intend to cultivate both martial Dao and psychic power. If Li Wei truly planted a Dao seed in his wind mansion, it would naturally dispel all doubts. At the same time, it would use gentleness to overcome strength, neutralizing Chu Tianshu's targeted actions and leaving him speechless. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What ambition. Wei Yi, the doors of the heavenly principles Tianli Hall are always open to you. Chu Tianshu's spiritual chi light and shadow receded like a tide, vanishing into the northern sky. What a cunning vice hall master Chu Tianshu. With just a few subtle moves, he's dug a deep pit for Yao Qingshan. At the same time, he's made sure the true disciples, divine sons, and goddesses of the twin rice sect know I've cultivated the Fusong divine tree spiritual light and possess 7 rare insects. I wonder if he was involved in the puppet technique scarecrow assassination. Li Wei mused inwardly. 6th Divine Maiden's residence. After listening to Yang Yun's report, Yang Qingxi emerged from her cultivation chamber for the first time in months. Rumble. Above the residence, the vast and luminous celestial river's light and shadow transformed into hundreds of streams of spiritual qi, surging into her body. Her entire being shimmered with divine light, her skin as radiant as immortal jade. Compared to a year ago, having reached the second heaven of the Dao Seed realm, her aura had become even more sharp and imposing, as if transcending the mortal realm. Yang Yun, who had once faced his formidable sister with composure, now couldn't even stand straight. He no longer resembled a brother but rather a grandson. Yang Qingxi murmured, you said Li Wei effortlessly defeated Zuo Sheng, who is in the second heaven of the Dao Seed realm. Yang Yun nodded frantically, like a chicken pecking at rice. He unleashed a whip of spiritual light flame from his brow, which cracked through the air with each slash. He could even contend with Zuo Sheng using only psychic power. Though his martial mystic Dao is crippled, his psychic power has resurged, making him incredibly formidable. Yang Qingxi pondered deeply. He sent you to deliver a message to Wang Shu, likely to draw me into his scheme. I thought the same, sister. We mustn't let him manipulate us, Yang Yun said. Yang Qingxi remained silent, her mind already racing with her own plans. After cultivating the dragon seed Dao, Yang Qingxi analyzed the Dao of the ancient dragon emperor, comparing it to her own Ma 5 Artial Dao. Every day brought new insights, and her cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Yet she remained unable to break through to the third heaven of the Dao Seed realm. She knew the reason. Her physical strength couldn't keep pace with her martial mystic Dao cultivation, holding her back. So, for some time now, Yang Qingxi had been refining blood crystals and consuming medicinal pills to enhance her physical body. While her power surged, her wealth flowed away like water. No longer managing the Sui sect's secular affairs, Yang Qingxi couldn't embezzle funds. Now, she was strapped for cash. At the Dao Seed realm, every aspect of cultivation demanded vast sums. Even an ancient sect like the Zuaoqiu sect required Dao Seed realm martial mystic cultivators to explore secret realms and seek resources themselves. The sect could only cover a portion. The Spring Surge and 5 Seas realms were like seedlings, while the Dao Seed realm was the pillar supporting a sect and its clan. Yang Qingxi knew that Wang Shu, the 4th divine son, had opened a secret treasure vault during his exploration of the underground immortal mansion, gaining access to considerable resources. His exceptional comprehension, enabling him to master great techniques, was directly linked to that treasure vault. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 4295 Seizing the Way. 40th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. If she could snatch a piece of the pie from the struggle between Li Wei and Wang Shu, she'd likely have enough resources to cultivate to the third heaven or even the fourth heaven of the Dao Seed realm. Furthermore, Yang Qingxi desperately wanted to crush Wang Shu and absorb all his followers into her own camp. Though she was a divine daughter, she had almost no reliable subordinates at headquarters, making her foundation shallow. Otherwise, why would she have been forced to rely on Yang Yun? Just then, news arrived from the Spirit Valley, Linggu Hall. A 2-star spiritual master. The Fusong Divine Tree Spiritual Light. Well done, Li Wei. Your spiritual power talent is truly remarkable. Coupled with those strange insects, this battle will be a tough one. Yang Qingxi made a decisive decision and turned to Yang Yun. Go to the 4th Divine Son's residence and relay Li Wei's words exactly as they were spoken. Remember, you must deliver the message in person. Huh. Yang Yun froze, feeling his sister's sudden change of attitude was too abrupt. Could it be? There was truly something going on between them. Delivering the message in person, he felt certain the 4th Divine Son would beat him to death. Yang Yun's intuition was correct. That was precisely Yang Qingxi's intention. After all, they needed a legitimate reason to act. Yang Yun would have to suffer first. They wouldn't kill him, but a severe beating was inevitable. Yang Yun emerged from the goddess pavilion looking as though he had just attended his own funeral. Yang Qingxi returned to her cultivation chamber, opened a door leading underground, and entered a narrow, pitch black, and eerie space. An otherworldly coffin stood at the center of the underground chamber. The air was frigid, chilling even Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators to the bone. A dark crimson blood mist constantly seeped from the coffin. Lying within the mist was a woman who looked exactly like Yang Qingchen. During the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, Yang Qingchen's corpse had been taken away by the Twin Rice sect. Yang Qingxi had planted a dead soul seed, obtained from the heavenly principles Tianli Hall, within the corpse. Yang Qingchen was now her sole servant. From within the coffin, Yang Qingchen spoke in her familiar tone, "Where are the high-grade blood crystals I need? And the immortal soil, divine cauldron wood, and other resources for refining my body. This current vessel is far too weak, severely limiting my strength." Yang Qingxi knew that the woman in the coffin was no longer her sister but a dead spirit powerhouse cultivated by the divine cult. She replied coldly, "If you want resources, you'll have to earn them yourself." Fourth Divine Son's residence. Qishao and Tuoba Buchuo were chained to a stone wall within a formation. They were emaciated, like withered branches, with no trace of their former arrogance. Their bodies had lost a significant amount of blood. Wang Shu, a youth of 15 or 16, sat cross-legged with his hands outstretched. From his palms, spiritual qi and Dao heart intent flowed out, twisting into root-like tendrils that pierced into Qishao and Tuoba Buchuo's ancestral fields, relentlessly draining the power of their dragon seeds. As the Dao seeds were extracted, the excruciating pain, both physical and mental, caused the two men to scream in agony, as if they were trapped in hell. Their bodies trembled violently until they finally collapsed into unconsciousness from the torment. This is truly exquisite. No wonder Yang Qingxi's cultivation progressed so rapidly. This is the Dao technique insight of the ancient celestial emperor. Dragon seeds are indeed treasures that defy fate. It's a pity we can't extract them directly. This method of absorption severely limits our cultivation speed. In the months since Wang Shu had brought Qishao and Tuoba Buchuo out of the divine prison, his cultivation had advanced dramatically, surpassing the gains of half a year of diligent practice. They can't die yet. We must first absorb all the dragon seeds from their ancestral fields before they can die. Wang Shu decided to postpone draining their blood for now. He would nurture them, aiming to break through to the fourth heaven of the Dao Seed Realm and condense a Dao Lotus. Success was within reach, guaranteed within 10 days. But this was far from his ultimate goal. Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng, two true inheritance disciples at the Dao Seed Realm, hurried to the entrance of the cultivation chamber. Both were over 50 years old, yet their cultivation had remained stagnant at the third heaven of the Dao Seed Realm. They had followed Wang Shu in hopes of gaining the opportunity to condense a Dao Lotus and break through to the fourth heaven. Yi Nanfeng said urgently, "Divine Son, something terrible has happened. Li Wei has been accepted as Venerable Nan's eldest disciple." Wang Shu didn't open the door. At this crucial moment in his cultivation, he wanted no distractions. "Did the puppet technique strawman I gave you fail in its assassination attempt?" Yi Baifeng, who had been controlling the puppet technique strawman, replied, "Li Wei's spiritual power cultivation has advanced dramatically. He's now a 2-star spiritual master. Rumor has it he defeated Zuo Sheng and captured him. After a century of cultivation, how could Zuo Sheng be such a waste?" Wang Shu's good mood vanished, replaced by utter humiliation. He began to think seriously. Venerable Nan couldn't even capture Tang Wanzhou, nearly exposing our route into headquarters. Several immortal realm giants within the sector already displeased with her, suspecting she might be acting deliberately. And at this critical juncture, she dares to take a divine hidden one from the Zhu hidden sect as her disciple. So be it. I'll ignore this for now. Once I cultivate my Dao Lotus, my strength and position within the sect will be vastly different. By then, I'll have plenty of ways to deal with Venerable Nan's eldest disciple. A core disciple arrived, using a swift movement technique. Divine Son, Yang Yun, the sixth Divine Maiden's younger brother, has come to pay his respects. He claims to have a matter of utmost importance to report. Yang Yun had no choice. If he hadn't made such a claim, he felt he wouldn't have been able to meet the fourth Divine Son at all. A moment later. Boom. Yang Yun was sent crashing through the gate, flying out of the fourth Divine Son's residence. Blood streamed from his nose and mouth as he tumbled away. Yao Qingxian was discussing the external situation with a senior figure from the Spirit Valley, Lingu Hall. Li Wei followed Elder Shu to receive his true inheritance disciple rice robe and life token. Before cultivating the Dao Lotus, the rice robes of true inheritance disciples were embroidered with 4 spirit grains. The number of spirit grains on one's robe determined their status, rank, and freedom within headquarters. Divine sons and daughters, due to their extraordinary talent, had a high probability of becoming immortal realm giants. Their robes were embroidered with 7 spirit grains, surpassing the status of some elders and granting them access to all spiritual codices and Dao techniques. Each disciple's life token was unique and required a drop of their blood to activate. Elder Shu explained, true inheritance disciples can access all minor techniques and some spiritual codices within the Spirit Valley, Lingu Hall. They also have unrestricted access to the cultivation areas of the 28 heavenly law earth springs. However, to access the 4 great techniques, you must complete missions and earn sufficient merit points for the divine cult. True disciple Li, of course, is different. As Venerable Nan's eldest disciple and one of the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's most trusted insiders, you can simply tell me what you wish to access. Li Wei inwardly marveled at the pervasive nature of human relationships and promptly expressed his gratitude. However, completing missions is an unavoidable responsibility for true inheritance disciples. You must complete at least 1 mission each season. Elder Shu reminded him before leading Li Wei to the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's mission hall. Mentoring outer sect disciples in cultivation for half a month, 500 Xuanhuan coins or 500 merit points. Cultivating 100 acres of rice fields, 100 Xuanhuan coins or 100 merit points. The Spirit Valley Lingu Hall of the Twin Rice sect served as a place of education and nurturing, primarily responsible for cultivating outer sect disciples and inner sect disciples. Once a disciple became a core disciple, those with high innate talent were almost immediately claimed by various factions. Spirit grain, meant, seed, which destined the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's tasks to be mostly low risk and low reward. Of course, there were exceptions. Intercept and kill martial mystic cultivators who trespass into the underground immortal mansion, 100,000 merit points. Capture alive, double the reward. Kill a Dao Seed Realm cultivator at the second heaven, 200,000 merit points. Capture alive, double the reward. Li Wei's gaze fixed on this wall, 1,000 thoughts swirling in his mind. He asked, can all true inheritance disciples accept these interception missions? Of course. Elder Shu smiled and added, moreover, a holy spiritual master or an immortal realm giant will accompany you to prevent any mishaps during the mission that could expose our headquarters. So, while there's still some risk, it's not overly dangerous, a great opportunity to gain experience. Li Wei noticed bounty missions for martial mystic cultivators with special identities. Tang Wanzhou's name was prominently listed, with a reward of 10 million merit points. Merit points could be used as Xuanhuan coins to exchange for various cultivation resources at the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall. Li Wei asked, are there any missions outside the hall? Outside? You mean the surface world? Yes, there is, but Spirit Valley Lingu Hall rarely handles such matters. Elder Shu chuckled. If you want to undertake missions outside, you'll need to go to the Heaven Valley Hall. They handle all affairs under heaven. Venerable Nan is one of the 5 great venerables of the Heaven Valley Hall, overseeing all matters in the 7 prefectures of the southern border. All missions in the southern territory are under her control. Li Wei wasn't planning to take on any missions for now. Under Elder Shu's guidance, he proceeded to the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's resource treasury. He wanted to familiarize himself with the environment and get a head start on finding his way around. Outside the resource treasury, Li Wei inquired about the price of spring liquid from the other Elder Shu, the one guarding the treasury. The 2 Elders Shu were Ricefolk brothers. The elder guarding the resource treasury was much colder and had a completely different personality, maintaining a strictly businesslike demeanor. 1 drop of spring liquid cost 7 merit points or 10 Xuanhuan coins. Li Wei produced a series of boundary pouches, some he had seized from Yang Yun, others from Zuo Sheng and Zuo Shi. He combined them all, totaling 180,000 Xuanhuan coins, and purchased 18,000 drops of spring liquid. The gentle Elder Shu smiled. True disciple Li is quite remarkable. Even the divine sons and daughters rarely purchase such a large quantity of spring liquid at the 5 Seas realm. Their ancestral fields typically only expand to around 20,000 cubic meters. Li Wei feigned a pained expression, then revealed a look of madness and obsession. I must fight for it. How can I be content without trying? Elder Shu, I have a Tao Lotus that has released all its spiritual qi. How many Xuanhuan coins can I get for it? The cold-natured Elder Shu retrieved the spring liquid and handed it to Li Wei. Tao Lotus can be refined into Tao Lotus pills, a major medicine for Tao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators to advance their cultivation. The price varies depending on the grade of the Tao Lotus. Li Wei took out the box containing the Tao Lotus and handed it over. A Tao Lotus, what a treasure. It's comparable to millennial essence herb. Helping 5 Seas Realm martial mystic cultivators accumulate spiritual qi is only a fraction of its true value. After examining the Tao Lotus, Elder Shu said expressionlessly, this is a Tao Lotus from a 4th heaven Tao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator, and it's the lowest grade, a 3-petal Tao technique lotus. It's worth 180,000 Xuanhuan coins. Beside them, another Elder Shu whispered to Li Wei, the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall buys treasures at much lower prices. You could sell it at the market town and get at least 20,000 more Xuanhuan coins. The cold-natured Elder Shu snorted, if you're not afraid of revealing your wealth, go ahead. Who would dare leak information if you sell it at the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall? Besides, there's room for negotiation if you're exchanging resources for resources. Li Wei's heart stirred. Does the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall have fragments of the Spirit Platform Blazing Star Stone? Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.